Well, we've been all waiting for this. The Tesla Model Y can now finally talk to us.
So you hear me now? Luke, I am your father.
Does that with the glove box also work while driving? Open the glove box. Driving the Tesla Model Y, I ask myself, is it really that much more efficient than the other EVs? Does it have a higher range? Even or especially here in wintertime. So efficiency and range at 100 kilometers or 60 miles an hour, at 130 kilometers or 80 miles an hour, and also what's the efficiency and range at top speed here on the German Autobahn, German motorway here today. We'll test it together with agility, general overview, and new features also, especially as for the software, infotainment and so on. There have been some rumors about issues about the heating in cold winter times. We have today some, close to freezing temperatures. We will let this car run with the heating on for a whole day, for 24 hours, see if there's any failure. And also, when you're stuck maybe, in an ice storm or something in the middle of the road, how much energy from the battery and how much range does it take when you let the heating run?
And we will also show you a supercharging test.
So many interesting tests to come now. So this is Thomas with Autogefuehl, welcome. Here in the front design-wise, especially when you pick it in white, it looks kind of like a stormtrooper helmet, doesn't it?
4.75 m or 187 inches. Just a few details here. These are winter tires with 19-inch wheels. You can get 19, 20 or 21 for the performance version, but I recommend sticking with 19 for best comfort. Here, by the way, we have these mud flaps. They protect the side against extra mud, but they're really low and sometimes they are not mounted because indeed they will hit the ground in certain situations, so not so sure.
A nice signature here at the rear. It always comes with all-wheel drive, one electric motor in the front, one in the rear. And there are two versions, normal all-wheel drive and the performance one, either 5 seconds or 3.7 seconds in the acceleration figure then.
Here, these door handles, they are just complicated. It's how it is. Then, door closing sound. One time without me talking. That's when you have frameless doors. Few examples are there when you have frameless doors where they're still good, and I think it was the Porsche Taycan and the Peugeot 508, I guess. What's cool here, by the way, look at that. Dual insulation glass in the front. Yes, all animal-free interior, way to go. Seats and steering wheel, either here in the black layout and with a nice bright wood inlet, or in the white layout, which looks cooler, but then you have this aluminum inlet. Me, and including a lot of guys read here in the comments, I would love the white interior with the bright wood. That would be cool. Here, by the way, interesting here now, new build quality wise, that steering wheel is now a little bit structured in the surface. So they obviously use a new or updated leatherette material. Really cool. And now also with a heated steering wheel function. Seating is decent, although for tall drivers the seats I think could be a little bit longer, but overall decent comfort. And you can set the steering wheel, of course, height and in, out, and also have this easy entry function. So at the moment this is my driving position, but when I, for example, get out of the vehicle, then it moves in and up. As for the key, you can have this key card holder with the key cards inside. You can put your phone as a key. And then you can also order a classic key fob, so these other possibilities. Just using the key cards is, I think, too annoying, because then you always have to place it in the middle console to be able to start the vehicle. The lower area is really cool, microfiber surface, and then you have two inductive charging pads for your phone. And here, a big opening, a lot of space. Next to cup holders, they are not adaptive though, and even more space underneath. And in the overview here, once again, this super clean layout, 15-inch screen, that's it. And yes, I think
When you just have the speed here, it is missing either in the instruments or in the head-up display. I can't get over it. Look at that. This is kind of Android style now here. Update. You can set your favorite things here. For example, the energy meter or the camera. This, by the way, is always a favorite feature because here the lower cameras, the side cameras have a different color temperature than the top part, and it's been said that it has to do with the autonomous driving function. Interesting, but it has here also especially a great resolution. And here, for example, Bluetooth menu, so you can actually put then these things, and also with drag and drop. So if you rather want to have Spotify in there, you can have, hold this and then put it down into My Apps. This is also in the recent app folder, or then if you want Bluetooth here, once again, like here. So to me, this is really cool. I rather have than the energy meter here as well. So like this, actually a very good new feature. And this is the cool thing, they can update this just over the air. And once again, here temperature stays there, but you can also use the voice control. Temperature 22 degrees. Here we go. Or like I'm cold, I'm warm is also possible. And told you already, here is now the heated steering wheel function. Really cool. It gets warm quite quickly and also all over the steering wheel. That is a very cool function. And the thing is, also other EVs have independent heating, for example. But here, it's everything so easily done. Once here, temperature control, and then here, keep. So keep climate mode enabled. And this way it will keep the temperature. So the most efficient way to keep warm in the vehicle here is to use the steering wheel heating and the seat heating, because that actually applies the temperature directly to the body. Warming the air in the vehicle is less efficient. However, that's exactly what we want to test, because it's kind of like a stress test for the car as well. And how can we keep the air, the temperature in the car also cozy for everyone, not only via the seats. I was really looking forward to how much battery does it actually drain and how much range do we lose actually per hour. Here with this setting, the temperature is being maintained, and I hope it will stop when the battery reaches 20% of charge. Outside 6 degrees or 42 Fahrenheit, it will get colder in the basement garage very soon. At the moment, for 27 kilometers or 266 miles of range left. It's almost 5 o'clock in the evening and 85% state of charge. Now let's see what we have 7 hours later, around midnight. We have 74% state of charge, so we lost about 11%. We are at 373 kilometers, means we lost 54 kilometers. And we went from 266 miles to 231 miles, means we lost 35 miles. 11 hours later, so overall now 18 hours, we are at 62% state of charge and 311 kilometers or 193 miles. So that means we lost 1.3% battery state of charge per hour, or 6.5 kilometers of range per hour, or 4 miles of range per hour. So I think this is a very decent result, so you do not have to be afraid being stuck in an EV in a snowstorm or something. I would have imagined that it's kind of less efficient, but it has proven to be quite efficient indeed, so very good result, I think. Or what's your take on that? And also, we've been running this car then for 24 hours, for a whole day, with the heating, close to freezing temperatures, and there was no failure at all. The car was kept warm all the time. Obviously, the software update did very well there, and so no complaints from our side. Of course, yes, that wasn't a big efficient thing to do, but we are here to do the tests for you, so only one guy has to do that, and not everyone else to test to be sure that it works. And new software update, we finally have a blind spot monitor. See here, when I hit the turning indicator, then to the left here I have the camera, and this is a very, very good feature. We've been waiting for this for ages. And here also on the opposite, when I go to the right turning indicator, here then right side camera appears in the very same spot. Also included in the latest update, here in the toy box, there is now the so-called boombox, and here it's really interesting. You can play the current media you're listening to the outside, or use the megaphone projecting your voice to the outside.
So you hear me now? Luke, I am your father.
Or what you can also do is having fart sounds on the outside, or yeah, applause and so on. Really hilarious.
And now what about that battery and the range? Well, first of all, 77 kilowatt hours is the capacity, and it's really funny. You can ask Tesla yourself and they do not even exactly know if it's gross or net. There is hardly any information about it. And if you do some research, you can find both information that it's gross or net. I honestly can say I don't know exactly if it's 77 kilowatt hours gross or net. And I'm not sure if we will ever find out. And it also changes from time to time. So at Tesla, things are changing really, really quickly. Often reviewers or just customers have to look in the papers to see which exact size the battery has. That's also what I did. The papers say 77. And before we come to driving aspects, let's exactly focus on the range at different speeds. Is this one here now really so much more efficient? Does it have so much higher range than, for example, Kia EV6, Ford Mustang Mach-E, VW ID4, Audi Q4 e-tron, and so on and so on? I did the exact test here now at, something around freezing temperatures. Let's find out. At 100 kilometers an hour, we have 19 kilowatt hours on 100 kilometers. So at 60 miles an hour, 30 kilowatt hours per 100 miles. And at 130 kilometers an hour or 80 miles an hour, we have 23 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers or 33 kilowatt hours on 100 miles. So what does it mean? Yes, the Tesla Model Y is very efficient, a very good result. And yes, it is also in a lot of respects a little bit more efficient than the competitors and offers a little bit more range. But it's not that it would offer 500 kilometers or like 300 miles, whereas the others offers 400 kilometers and 250 miles. The gap is not that big. So the deciding factor, if you would go like for a Kia EV6 or VW ID4 or the Tesla Model Y, it's not that you would say, oh, this one now here from Tesla has this much higher range that I would only go for this one for this reason. That's not the crucial point. I think the crucial point with the Tesla is here that you have the supercharging network until the other manufacturers have caught up with their true supercharging networks. That would be like, reason number one. And reason number two is that they here have the best software.
And then there's something really important range-wise. This is the energy meter, and it actually looks at how you have been driving recently, and this is also an accurate energy consumption figure actually. So trust this figure right here. Do not trust this figure up here. This figure up here, you see, is not coherent with the other one. 170 kilometers, 220. This one is the unrealistic one because here, up there, this one is calculating from the battery status and the standard consumption of this vehicle by the driving cycle. This is not calculated by a real driving figure, and that's why when it also says 500 kilometers or 300 miles, it's too much.
Well, and now the big question is, why would they do that? They do have the accurate calculated figure. Why don't they put it up there? Yeah. The thing is, maybe, that's my guess, when they have people in the showroom to buy the vehicle, and this figure here always shows the more optimistic one. Oh, this can always go 500 kilometers or 310 miles? Great, I'll buy it. Yeah, but that's not really fair to the customer, especially not to the concise drivers and so on. So I would urge them to put this same figure which they have in the energy meter also up there in the small figure. Other than that, it's actually better for you when you put at this moment the percentage figure up there and then the real range figure you find in the energy meter. Usually I'm against reading the percentage figure and exchanging it for the real range figure, but in this case, because it's not the proper one, the percentage figure for the battery will be the proper one, but the range estimate in the top small part will not be accurate. Other than that, he is of course always very good, responsive, the map, and then we can also navigate, for example, to the next supercharger. And then it will also precondition the battery for the fast charging. You should do that in advance. You have to do that with the GPS, that the preconditioning can actually work. Tesla even recommends to do it half an hour in advance to really be sure the optimum temperature for the fastest charging. So I've been driving to the supercharger, almost there, but the thing is, it does make this preconditioning even if the battery is almost empty. And I think that is a risk now here. 4% battery left, 2 minutes to go, 1 kilometer to go. And I think in this case, the software should say, no, I'm not taking the risk, not preconditioning the battery because it's too dangerous that you get stuck on the way. Yeah, that was a little bit closer than I thought today. You know, there is this sport among Tesla customers that you arrive at the supercharger with the least amount of battery percentage. Yeah, of course, I mean, on the one hand, it's kind of like fun, you know, it's adrenaline pumping, but of course you shouldn't do that. And also, it's of course better for the battery if you always keep it between 10 and 80%. So you shouldn't deplete it too much, and you should also not fill it up too much, actually, you know, for the best care of the battery. You can see, by the way, the V2 supercharger here has still the 2 cables, and the V3, the most current one here, has the 1 cable. So here we already filled up some, and we start counting the time from 10% now, so 10% state of charge. And at this moment we are charging with around 200 kilowatt. That's already quite decent. Let's see how long this can be kept in this power. Here, like this 1 hour, this is like to 100%, but we are going to 80% because that's the relevant figure. See here, starting at 3 o'clock, so 1500, you can also say, military time. Now at over 20% already, just after 3 minutes. That's quite decent, and here we're still at about 170 kilowatt. Here now at 35%, charging speed is dropping. So here we are now at 130 kilowatt. So first timing from 10 to 40% in 9 minutes. Now at 60% we have dropped below 100 kilowatt, but still with 80 is quite decent. And here, so 60% after 18 minutes. We're getting closer. And now we are at our goal. It's still charging at 60 kilowatts and we have reached 80%. So 10 to 80% in exactly 31 minutes. That's a good result, I think. And if we compare this to the competitors, the Ford Mustang Mach-E, for example, will take around 10 minutes longer for 10 to 80%, although they recently made some updates now there. And the Kia EV6 or the Hyundai Ioniq 5, well, theoretically, they have a higher charging peak, but then again, they do not do preconditioning, so especially in wintertime, they won't be faster at all. And also, you cannot hold this peak for the whole time. So some other tests, they have shown that they take a similar amount of time, maybe a little bit faster, and only in really super ideal conditions, they are this 10 minutes faster, so around 20 minutes, what is actually promised by them. By the way, the whole thing, you know, did cost me 28 euros. Note that energy in Germany is quite expensive. And what's also quite interesting here, the speed is still quite okay, even above 80%, so it doesn't drop immediately like it does with the Ford. Rear seating, well, soft touch here also at the inside of the doors, that's cool. Then you have sufficient space for 4 or even 5 tall adults. Here comes close with the knees, depending on the driver position in the front, but it works. Also headroom wise, no problem with 1.86 m or 6'1". And the cool thing is here, you know, hardly ever do we have so much space and such a comfortable position here also in the middle seat. So 5 tall adults, really no problem at all. You cannot change the angle of the seats. This is here the direct folding mechanism, also showing you that from the trunk very soon. But overall, the space that is being offered right here is really good. And here we have some more cup holders that are even adaptive. And when you take a look at the panel gaps here from the inside, once again proven the build quality meanwhile is very good. So everything here very well aligned. However, that does not include the rear door closing sound. Super spacious trunk area that is leading if you compare the competitors, more than 1 meter in length
or 40 inches, and also 40 inches or a meter in width. And the height here, the overall height, is 70 centimeters or 28 inches, really good. Some colors here also, yeah, okay, all stereotypes are served. A Whole Foods bag, yeah, driving with a Tesla to the organic Whole Foods market in Los Angeles. Yes, all stereotypes caught, of course. And even more space here underneath, right here, huge space here, for example, for the charging cables. And even better, you can easily fold these seats here, 2/3, 1/3 split, and then, you know, look at that. That is really a lot. And then we can indeed reach here 2 meters or 79 inches. So this is segment leading. By the way, you can limit that hatch here from the opening so it doesn't crush your basement garage. So here at the moment, so you have to press and hold this button for a couple of seconds, and then it, for example, stops here. That would be fitting for my basement garage, and then I have to manually put it up further when I'm, for example, outside here, and then I can also step underneath it. It is kind of bulky, but you have that option here. And is it true, by the way, that the Tesla Model Y, including passengers and luggage, can only take less than 400 kilograms or less than 800 pounds? Yes, it is true. It is supposed to be fixed when it leaves the German plant very soon. This one here still being the Shanghai model. And there are rumors that when the German built models arrive, that then you can load more into the vehicle. Will be the problem if you exceed it a little bit? Probably no one will know, and I don't expect any structural damage then to the chassis or something. So I think you can more or less relax in this respect. And does it frunk? Yes, it does frunk, and also reasonable space here in the front. Welcome to Thomas's driving lounge with the Tesla Model Y. Long range all-wheel drive. Around 5 seconds is the acceleration figure from 0. And we'll do here a rolling start from about 30 kilometers an hour to whatever, free road. Let's see, let's go. 150. Let's see if we can reach top speed. 200, 125 miles an hour. And now we are at top speed. That is 218 kilometers an hour. It gets really loud. Oh, really have pressure on my ears from that. Of course, the car is not laid out to do that. Also doesn't feel too safe, and of course I always have to be cautious here because the road is not entirely dry. Performance is like, whoa, great performance. Then here, recuperation plus brakes, back to 100 kilometers an hour, 60 miles an hour. And of course it's totally fine then noise insulation wise. So at normal highway speeds, the noise insulation is also very well good enough. That's no problem. But just at these really, really high speeds. The suspension is rather trimmed stiff, so for higher speeds that gives you a sportier feeling, but it has also major drawbacks. More to that later at the very special part where we have like some really, really bumpy roads. Here so far motorway, then you can either set a normal cruise control and then here go plus and minus with your right thumb at the steering wheel, or you can also use these autopilot functions. However, they differ from Europe to the US. In Europe, it is kind of restricted, so it's kind of not like a fair comparison when I tested here. However, the features that are here, and you have to, enable it here. Car must be parked first, though. But the thing is, how the sensors work, how they're oriented. Everything is camera-based here at Tesla, and you have a lot of false negatives. I have that, over the years, and so overall, I do not use the system because I had too many bad experiences with it, where it just failed. Where it did a braking maneuver in the middle of the motorway at high speed, where it wasn't supposed to be because there was a dip on the road. This, for example. Or the other way around, lane keeping assist as well, going in some slight bends, just going straight. So
Whoa, there's a lot of fog here now. So I do not trust the system. I think it's one of the worst on the markets as for this. But however, the driving feeling it gives you here from this traveling feeling, you know, with the glass all over the place, this is really cool, you know. Even when the weather is really bad outside, you feel you're kind of a little bit above things. Everything is clean in the interior. That makes a really good look to the outside. And I do not like that we don't have instruments or the head-up display. You know, especially when you're driving at night, you kind of feel a little bit lost, I would say. To me, when there's an instrument cluster, you have some kind of a connection to the vehicle. You know what I mean? I'm not sure how to explain that. Here, by the way, it's interesting how the camera recognizes the cyclist here, left next to it. That's very interesting, and also traffic sign recognition. Well, this car definitely needs also instruments or head-up display. I mean, one of each would be sufficient. That's okay, but it is distracting to look over here for the speed. Definitely, this is more planned to be fully autonomous at some point. That's the plan or the idea behind it, and of course also for cost savings. But I'm not willing to accept cost saving measures for a vehicle that is at 60,000 euros or dollars. I won't do that, you know. So, and for 60,000 euros or dollars, I expect head-up display or instruments, period. So, sometimes, by the way, the auto wipers, you can set them here in auto or on different stages. Sometimes, to me, they come a little bit too late, but then you can, have one single press here on the left stalk column, and then it does another wipe. So you can also somehow manually tune that in this respect. One more time, acceleration when we're already at speed here from 85 kilometers an hour. Whoa! Still want a boost. Wow, that's really cool. And already 160. Wow, such a great acceleration, so much power. So at the moment I'm in standard acceleration mode. Usually I set it to chill because it just applies less G-force on yourself and especially on your passengers. As for the energy economy at these really, really high speeds, the question is always like, how long can you drive top speed? And we can see that the power consumption is kind of off the charts, but towards some let's see, when we hold that speed here, about 180. So it moves then towards like the something above 400 kilowatt hours on 1 kilometers. So some 500 something kilowatt hours on 100 miles. So that actually then confirms once again what we had in our EV tests so far, that when you drive these electric vehicles at top speed, at really, really high speeds, usually it means you take the standard range and cut it in half and then go a little bit below that, you know. So driving top speed, the EVs, is cutting the range more than in half. So if we say that this here has, even in wintertime, some range of 400 kilometers or 250 miles, and in summertime, probably a little bit more, even like 450 kilometers or 270 to 80 miles, then you can say less than half of that is full speed driving. If I drive this one here at like 180 kilometers an hour or 100 miles per hour plus, then I can drive it probably some 180 kilometers or some 120 miles or something like this. So that is still decent, definitely. Combustion engines also consume exponentially more fuel when they are driven at high speeds. Since range is limited anyway in electric vehicles, of course, here it's kind of more than a problem, and you also take longer to recharge, as long as you don't have like the perfect DC charging station available. So I'm countryside driving right now here. Actually, the steering feeling is quite good, very precise as well. It doesn't feel that natural. However, they have improved it over the time, I feel. And you can also set it so you can make it softer or harder. Doing these controls while driving is not ideal at all, because it's also too small and distracting. This is really something, it has a good overview when you're stationary, and then you can set it up once, and then you're driving, and that's it. And here, for example, steering motor comfort, that would to me be a little bit too soft. Standard mode, or then sport mode, it gets a little bit stiffer. But the good thing is really that you can do so many things with the voice input here while driving, and this voice input is really, really great. Does that with the glove box also work while driving? Open the glove box. That's great, right? Open the glove box. Open glove box, close. Open, close. Homer Simpson style. Yeah. Of course, sorry, maybe it needs to be, put a disclaimer like, do not open the glove box while driving. Professional driver, do not attempt. Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, that's how you can have fun in a Tesla, definitely. And sporty driving fun, of course, acceleration-wise, definitely. Now here, these winding bends, how agile is it actually? Yeah, it's actually good. Good and precise control. Now here, of course, the very stiff suspension helps us in a way to get that sporty power on the ground. Yeah, also due to that all-wheel drive, we don't have any wheel spin or something. Precisely out of the corners. That's very good. Really settled on the ground, low center of gravity. Wow, that is very well done. However, of course, yeah, there is a catch with the suspension for normal everyday driving. Whoa, this is what I meant. Yeah, this is a typical place where we can test a bad road, and wow, that was extremely bad. Like a similar result we just had with some, let's say, small vehicles with super stiff suspension, like like a Ford Fiesta ST or something. So indeed, the suspension is the biggest weakness here with the Tesla Model Y and the Tesla Model 3, of course, as well. They have to completely rework that. They cannot fix this, They cannot update it. It's nothing you can do with software. They have to throw this suspension here completely out of the vehicle if they want to keep selling their vehicles at these prices. Two things they can do. Either take the air suspension from the Tesla Model S or the X, also here in the smaller models, or invent or buy something, entirely new. There are a lot of good suppliers, especially when they build these cars in here in Germany. Easy to get suspension suppliers. There are a lot of suspension companies in Germany, especially. So it's not that they can't do it. They just didn't pay attention to that yet. And I can tell you once again, the suspension, I really have to say that outright. I mean, I do love Tesla for what they did to the industry, bring electrification forward, being one of the first to put all animal-free interior. Then the software here, I mean, it's great, it's fast, it's simple. So many things about these vehicles here that are really industry-leading. But the suspension and how it feels and how non-premium it feels. By driving this vehicle and having this discomfort from the suspension, you can say this is not a premium vehicle. This suspension here is absolute rubbish. It's one of the worst ones I've driven ever. I can, say that even stronger now, having driven especially all the EV competitors, and when the suspension of the other competitors like here, this one is like here. From good to bad. So this is really the major drawback. So if you have great roads, enjoy a Tesla Model Y and you can profit from all the advantages. But especially if you live in an area where you have bad roads, no, you can't go for it. You have to take one of the competitors, for example, the Ford Mustang Mach-E or the Kia EV6.